Good morning, Nigeria. Welcome to Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital in Abuja. My name is Ayuba Ilya. Of course, I'm not alone. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Ayuba. Good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Stella Iyaji.
Yes, and the battle to move around town and, get your vehicle.
It's a good thing you use the word battle. It has become a battle.
Continued, yes.
Yeah.
Just when we thought that it would be over by now, but it has persisted longer than, expected.
And nobody's saying anything. It appears as if we have accepted it and we're like, okay,
It's
there's not going to
becoming
be petrol. So
it's becoming normal, and you can only imagine how many hours of productive hours actually are lost in the midst of all this. People queue up for hours, unable, especially if you take a look at, say, commercial vehicle owners, for instance. They stay on queues for hours, and what they would have
and a lot
been
of
able
them
to
have
make
to
in a
make
day
a lot
has
of them
dropped.
have to make some returns to whoever owns the vehicle that they are using.
Yes.
So they have to deal with all of that. But then look at it carefully. Do you know this crisis has been on since January? Like, since January, it stopped and then it came back, it stopped and then it came back. So it never really went away.
Yes, and it's just sad what commuters have to go through. I was driving by yesterday, and some women were trying to get to Secretariat area, and I was not actually going there, but after hearing after seeing the desperation on their faces, actually, because they were just saying they've been at the bus stop for hours, waiting for more than an hour, actually, waiting for a vehicle, but no vehicle. Most of the commercial vehicle owners are at the filling station. They do not have fuel. And so, after seeing their desperation, I could not help but to offer them a lift, and they jumped in. And the moment they started jumping into my car, you could see the number of other people that were all running towards my car. Almost got scared,
And it was even a good thing you're able to do that, because these days with the security situation, not a lot of people are able to do that.
Yes.
So that puts the commuters at,
Yes, really, and it's a sad one, really. I hope that we do something about this,
especially
quickly.
with the holidays coming.
Yes.
We need the petrol.
You can only imagine what Christmas would look like.
And what the cost of traveling will be if you have to move from Abuja to wherever.
Well, I guess we'll find out in the coming days,
Yeah.
in a few days, because Christmas is just less than a month now. Yes. All right, let's take a look at the headlines for today. 2023 election, appeal court upholds Machina's victory in APC senatorial primary.
Court sacks Adamawa Speaker as PDP senatorial candidate.
Onitsha main market fire, early morning inferno raises 2 blocks of shops.
Now let's take a look at the details. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has affirmed the nomination of Bashir Sharif Machina as the authentic candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC for Yobe North Senatorial District. A 3-member panel led by Justice Monica Dagban Mesa on Monday upheld the judgment of the Federal High Court in Damaturu, which upheld Machina's nomination. The appellate court observed that the APC argued its case and that of Senate President Ahmad Lawan in its brief, but failed to make him a co-appellant instead of being the second respondent. The High Court had upheld the May 28 primary that produced Machina, sacked Lawan, and ordered the APC to forward Machina's name to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the authentic candidate.
All right, now a federal high court sitting in Ayola, Adamawa State, has notified the election of the Speaker of the Adamawa State House of Assembly, Aminu Iya Abbas, as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party for Adamawa Central Senatorial District for the 2023 election. In his ruling on Monday, voided the senatorial primary for Adamawa Central conducted by the PDP. The suit was filed by Mohammed Modibo, son of former chairman of the PDP, Babagana Tukuru, and 5 other aspirants that includes Barrister Didi Azura, Mohammed Modibo, Ibrahim Mustafa, Ibrahim Abubakar, and Honorable Abdullahi. Justice Anka judge held that the participation of the 4th defendant, Chairman, Governing Council, Adamawa State University, Awal Tukuru, as a political appointee without compliance to the new Electoral Act 2022 violated the process, hence the entire process is nullified.
An early morning fine on Monday razed 2 blocks of shops at the Kano Street section of the main market in Onitsha, Anambra State. Although the cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained, the Anambra State Fire Service deployed its men to the scene. According to the State Fire Chief, Martin Agbili, a distress call was put across to the service around 2 a.m. about the fire outbreak, and he immediately deployed men to the area. He decried the increasing rate of fire disasters within the state and called for caution. Reacting to the incident, the Anambra State Police Public Relations Officer Tochukwu Ikenga confirmed that the situation was under control and that no life was lost, though goods worth millions of naira were destroyed. He disclosed that preliminary information showed that the fire was caused by an electrical upsurge from a cosmetics store in the story building.
All right, now let's take a look at some of the packages we have for you this morning. Farmers in Benue State are disagreeing over the state government's intervention in the agricultural sector. While some gave kudos to the government for aiding agricultural production, others are alleging that the government is politicizing interventions in the sector. Take a look.
With post-flood realities on one hand and insecurity on the other, the state of agriculture in Benue, reputed as the food basket of the nation, has become a matter of discourse in many quarters.
In fact, the present government is zero in agriculture. Because if I'm grading them on average, I will give them 0. As I earlier mentioned, there is no intervention on agriculture in Benue at all. And some of the interventions needed government attention. They have to either to sign or give a little counterpart farm, which they have been 0 over it.
Other stakeholders, however, feel the state government has done enough and blame the farmers instead of failing to be proactive.
The government of Benue State did not leave any stone unturned in making sure agriculture is done very well, starting with the reorganization of AFAN, which I became the chairman. The governor did well by giving us even a vehicle to carry us along in places hitherto we were not able to go. He also gave us a tractor to help us farm. The only thing is the contractor did not bring the kind of tractor the governor wanted. If not, the state had up to 50 tractors to use in the state.
Most farmers, almost everybody wants to produce, even in the rural area. And when they grow, they get income, their life has improved. Except that some of them do not know how to invest. Another thing is being told what to do and how to do it. If you accept it very well, then you'll be able to make it. But there has been generally an improvement in the farmers' investment because they invest and they have.
The stakeholders say farmers must come to terms with modern farming policies, like exploring insurance options to augment losses.
One of the challenges during the last period, current year, when we had the produce, the rice fields have been flooded and there's been a very colossal loss. Some of the farmers don't know that you have to take, you don't have to take an insurance policy. So if they did, some of them wouldn't lose.
Even with the ongoing harvest, the prices of farm produce have continued to soar. Analysts say the harvest this year is below expectation and have predicted a likely food shortage, even in the much touted food basket of the nation.
All right. Now, the repair of local baskets, popularly known as kondo, is thriving despite the availability of plastic baskets. Though the trade looks odd to many Nigerians to the repairers, it remains a source of livelihood, as Bello Musa reports.
Local basket known as kondo in Hausa is an old means of conveying goods, primarily in northern Nigeria and other parts of the country. Despite the availability of plastic basket and other containers, kondo is still used by many people in Kaduna. Though it may look new and odd to many, These people at Bakindogo Market in Kaduna earn their living from repairing baskets. Despite the cost of living, I still cater for my family's needs. I have worked for the last 15 years. I have a family and I cater for them through this work. We repair all baskets and make it look new, or we change the size to either small or big. As the cost of living continues to bite hard on many Nigerians, repairs of this local basket is also affected by the economic downturn across the country. Our challenges are rising cost of materials, which often affect our business. I repaired 30 baskets in a day. The group urged the Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai to allocate a permanent site to them for their business. We want to have a permanent place where we can carry out our activities without inconveniencing other people. We are converting waste to wealth, and people and other authorities see our heap of basket as waste, which is not so. We want government to allocate permanent and convenient place for us because we create employment here. Despite the growing unemployment rate in the country, these Nigerians are using their talent to keep themselves occupied and also earn a living. For these Nigerians, they are not just creating jobs for themselves, but also creating opportunities for others. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
All right, now, a renowned professor of law, Patrick Lumumba, has urged leaders on the African continent to see their privilege as a call to provide service to humanity rather than an opportunity to occupy space for personal aggrandizement. Professor Lumumba spoke on Monday at the 10th Olusola Saraki Memorial Anniversary in Abuja. He also underscored the importance of an enlightened followership that could hold leadership accountable to its responsibilities.
The audience is gathered to celebrate the life and times of a political icon, Olusola Saraki. The upside is to listen to a brilliant lecture by the renowned Professor Patrick Lumumba, who in his usual manner is telling truth to power. He reminds the audience of the dreams of the first-generation leaders in Africa and their dispositions towards governance.
Who would liberate them from the Egypt of poverty and want? Who would cause pillars of fire to stand between them and sorrow and want? Who would part the Red Seas of tribalism and ethnicity? Who in times of hunger would summon manna and quail from heaven? That is what they thought of their leaders, messiahs.
One of the key limiting factors is the fault lines and impediments to Africa's renaissance in the face of neo-colonial tendencies.
Economies are controlled by people from other civilizations. Why is it? These are uncomfortable questions which we must pose and confront and answer if the mother continent is to realize our potential.
Professor Lumumba, who underscores the need for an enlightened followership that can hold leadership accountable, also draws the attention of those in position of authority to the consequences of failure to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people.
You may lead them in a particular direction. You may think that you have lulled them into a false sense of security. You may think that you have deadened their minds. But always remember that one day, if you don't do that which is good and right for your fellow men, there is a day of reckoning.
The memorial lecture, which has representative of President Muhammadu Buhari in attendance, draws audience from across political divides and cultural affiliations and is coming in the midst of electioneering ahead of the 2023 elections. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Thank you, Shafiu, for that report. For many Nigerians, saving money at this critical time of dwindling economic resources is crucial for survival. In Bauchi State, civil servants and artisans say this is the only way to meet one's daily needs in the face of harsh economic conditions. They shared their experiences with Trust TV's Adamo Imam in this report.
Saving money to earn a living remains a big challenge for the average Nigerian irrespective of the type of work they are engaged in due to economic hardship occasioned by rising inflation.
I personally partake in helps me a lot, because if not for that saving, I don't think if I can be able to raise up something as civil servant. You know how the salary structure is and the economic hardship being faced by Nigerians.
Too many occasional deposits in periodic non-debit accounts or cooperative contributions for future usage can be life-saving, but such decisions don't come easy. Little by little, I have a grinding machine that my wife uses to fetch us money for the family and children's school fees. But we engage in serious contribution and as well as buying and selling just to survive. At least we thank God for our lives. So this issue of saving money has become source of concern. Looking at the challenges of economic resources, sometimes what to eat is hard, regardless of keeping money aside for other purposes, until we force ourselves to save in case of eventualities in life. Despite the above stated challenges, Nigerians have always found a way of survival either through savings or other means outside their monthly income. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
All right, we'll now take a short breather, and then when we return, we'll take a look at some more issues on the program. Join us again.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dsspr@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
situation where you find that a person look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
But I have said that.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time for us to take a look at the dailies on Daybreak right here on Trust Television. And we'll begin with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Quite a number of interesting stories, I must say. The lead story here talks about racketeering at depots worsens petrol scarcity. It has the riders that says marketers blame low supply, depot owners deny hoarding. Stations sell for 300 naira in Kaduna, Kano, and Lagos. You also have above the lead story, beware of thieves. FG cautions Nigerians traveling to UK and the US. Adeleke dethrones 3 monarchs, suspends Osaic chair and members. I won't stop telling truth to power, says Sultan of Sokoto, and that's on page 5. You also have Nigerians have enough food to eat, says Minister. You'll find that on page 5. FG begins 14-day paternity leave for workers on page 8. Attacks on facilities won't affect elections, according to INEC. And then at the footnote, Nigeria in perilous times, says the CJN on page 4 of Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, now let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. It has a lead story that says, APC Assembly tackle Adeleke. Governor sacks 12,000 workers. We have a first rider that says, APC fumes, says governor courting endless litigation, agitations, distractions. State of Osun backed by law. Governor's action illegal, says Assembly. Sacked local government chairman head to court. PDP backs Adeleke's action. Hits APC. Just beneath that, 10,000 resident doctors remaining in Nigeria. This is coming from the National Association of Resident Doctors. Then we also have contractors suspend Lagos-Ibadan road construction, resumes January. Kano APC chair caught with 367 PVCs jailed. And just by the masthead, we have ASU warns of new crisis, 6 intervention. And above the masthead, foreign NGOs, fintech firms linked to terrorism financing. No candidate for national award, nominees fail exam. And we also have 50% materials deployed, burnt offices, threatening polls. This is coming from INEC. These are the major stories on the Punch newspaper.
All right. Now let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. The lead story there talks about Adeleke hits Osun State with gale of sack reversals. You would also find the riders that says workers, 3 monarchs, Osaic chair, others fired. You also have 30 permanent secretaries demoted. Lawmakers draw battle line with governor over state name, anthem, logo, and others. Now, you would also find at the very top, above the masthead, Supreme Court overwhelmed by 6,884 cases, CJ and Ariwola laments. Beware of money passport theft in US-UK government warns Nigerians. Ghana, Morocco likely to carry Africa's flag to round 16. Lagos selects 3 bidders for $2.5 billion fourth mainland bridge. You also would find the nation wins 15 honors to remain best at 30th NMMA. So these are the stories on the front page of the Nation newspaper.
Over now to the Guardian newspaper, which has a lead story that says, cyber crimes raise concerns for 30.2 trillion monthly e-payments. And then we have a first rider that says, Nigerians count losses as fraudsters get sophisticated, empty bank accounts. Dearth of IT staff worsens recovery time in banks. NCC issues over 9 security alerts since beginning of 2022. Experts seek review of Cybercrime Act 2015, kick against plea begin. And just above that, we have Senate President Lawan loses at appeal court. Attacks on facilities troubling, won't deter us from conducting credible polls, INEC vows. And beneath the main story, we have appeal court reinstates Adibu to others in Ogun State. Beware of politicians' cravings for power. CJN wants judicial officers. We also have Adeleke suspend OSEC chairman. 6 others dethrones 3 monarchs. We have enough food for Nigerians, Agri Minister boasts. These are the major stories on The Guardian for today.
All right. So let's take a look at the Leadership newspaper. The lead story there talks about last-minute appointments, how governors set booby traps for successors. You also have the writers that says it's wasteful height of political rascality, say stakeholders, CSOs. Appointment in order, government a continuum, governors insist. You would also have 2023 polls will hold despite attacks on our offices, according to INEC. There are other stories there. Abuja Kaduna rail well secured, minister assures passengers. Beware of thieves, FG warns Nigerians traveling to the US and Europe. Qatar 2022, Ghana beat South Korea 3-2, Cameroon draw 3-3 with Serbia. So these are the stories on the front page of the Leadership.
Now let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. It has the lead story that says, 24 hours after inauguration as Osun governor, Adeleke dethrones 2 first-class monarchs, sacks 12,000 workers. The first rider suspends OSEC chair members, says pre-July 17 appointment nullity. Named the sacked civil servants, Oyetola's aide challenges governor. Assembly kicks against governor's rejection of Osun as state of the virtues. Then we have Dangote promises 300,000 jobs in sugar subsector. U.S. scholar attributes Europe's prosperity to Africa. Attack on Atiku, despicable. This is coming from Zulum. We also have APC Yobe North, Machina floors Lawan at appeal court. Then we have in Edo State, mob beats man to death over alleged motorcycle theft. Be security conscious, FG tells Nigerians traveling to UK, US, and Europe. Then we have Kaduna, troops rescued 9 victims, recover 90 cows. And just beneath the masthead, we have half salary, payouts or risk mother of all crises, as warns federal government. The first rider vows to protect public varsities from collapse. Naseni Boss advocates decentralized salary for lecturers. Says some of our colleagues don't deserve to be lecturers. These are the major stories on the Blueprint for today.
All right, so let's get perspectives on these issues. This morning, we have joining us virtually the chairperson, editorial board of the Blueprint newspaper, Zainab Okinu, who joins us to give perspectives on some of these stories. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak this morning.
A pleasure. Good morning, Ayuba. Good morning, Stella.
All right. Well, let's start with the legal week. The CJN, Chief Justice of Nigeria, is raising some concerns when they mark the legal week, where over 60 senior advocates, were conferred with that, and he is talking about Nigeria being in perilous times. That's one of the stories on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. He talks about these perilous times, really, and how there are now overwhelming number of cases in the judiciary. Do you see this new senior advocates now, the over 64, how will they help with this overwhelming number of cases at the courts?
Okay, good morning again. I think it's a genuine complaint from the CJN to have thousands of cases awaiting it for a body that is, I think currently there are about 12 plus the CJN himself, as against the 21 or so that they should have. To have such a large number of cases awaiting just a few people to decide on, to deliberate on, is really overwhelming without having to repeat what he said. But I know part of the problem is, I know there are more there must have been more political cases than some other criminal cases, other civil cases involved. And that's because our politicians have refused to learn their lessons. Ordinarily, issues that they can settle among themselves as a body, as a political party, everybody wants to try his luck at the Supreme Court or move from the lower court up to the Supreme Court, uh, such as some of the cases we have seen in recent time. So, yes, we need to look at how we can decongest the work of the Supreme Court justices. I know part of there's this case about having a court that will try election cases, which has not come to fruition. So if only we can decongest by having other various courts that will be empowered by the National Assembly to look at cases that not necessarily that should go to the Supreme Court, such as some of those election or political cases, that will reduce their burden, because, I mean, these are not young men and women. So having to look at so many cases, where do they start from? So this has its implication on our legal system. Cases get so delayed, and when cases get delayed, justice can be denied in the process. I don't think it augurs well for our judicial system that will have to have justices.
Okay, Haja, while the CJN was talking, he talked about the fact that there's an increase. He talked about the fact that there's an increase in crime all over across the country. But then he was specific. He warned them against being in bed with politicians, especially as we approach the general elections. What do you say to that? Because, some experts have said in the past that it is because politicians feel that because of their relationships with some judges that they can get some things turned around in the courts, that we actually see some of this impunity during the primaries and all of that.
Yes, so there are many questionable cases or judgments that we have seen in this country. I mean, some people became governors by Supreme Court pronouncements. I think that's what he's indirectly warning against, because justices of the Supreme Court should not, or of any court for that matter, should not be aligning with any political party. Unfortunately for the CJN, he just did that last week when he was invited to Port Harcourt to be celebrated. Fine, there's no problem about that. But the statement he made about the five renegade governors of the PDP, that showed that he was somehow in support of their action. So, and since that time, the people have been questioning even his own integrity and his own political leaning. So he should set a good example by not kowtowing to what politicians want him to say or want him to do. And he should also be straightforward, because even when he was called up by a lot of people who complained about his statement, he said he didn't say so. Yet we saw all this. I mean, it was there. YouTube is there. So we saw the statement he made. The best he could have done is to apologize that, well, I didn't mean it that way. I was joking because my my governor is my governor's wife is from Rivers State. So that the way we joke over issues of my wife, this and that in Nigeria. So he could have he could have used that as an alibi instead of deny what we all had. So the point is he should set a good example in what, not just what he says, by his own action.
All right, so I want us to take a look at another story on page 4 of the Daily Trust that talks about Adeleke dethroning 3 monarchs. That's the story that's on virtually all the papers. And this is kind of, I would say, signaling some sort of crisis between the current governor and his predecessor, talking about last-minute appointments and the executive orders that the current governor issued, even on the day of his inauguration, suspending the account of the state, changing the name of the state from State of Osun to Osun State as recognized by the Constitution, the issue of the logo and the anthem of the state, and several other things that, he made declarations about. The state assembly now seem to be drawing a battle line with the governor and all of that. This is just less than a week after his inauguration. So what's your take on this?
Well, this might just be the beginning of a long drawn battle because Adeleke has just been sworn in and he has already swung into action. Good for him. He has hit the ground running as we expect our elected governors to do. That's also fine. But you see, to some extent, you cannot blame him. For the governor, I mean, the governorship election of Osun State held in July, if I'm not wrong. It held in July, and and then the governor, the incumbent then lost the election. So for him to come from behind, between that time and now, to have done this appointment, even if it is in good faith, it calls to question some of these issues the issues we are going to see in the next few months. So,
in fact, we understand that one of the monarchs is.
I think the governor.
Former APC chair.
Yes, in fact, we
Pardon?
understand that one of the monarchs is a former chairman of the APC. So perhaps there's a political undertone to this.
Exactly. Exactly. We shouldn't.
All right. It appears that we have lost. Zainab. Yeah. Well, we hope that we get her back as soon as possible. But I mean, the fact is that how did we even get here? Politicizing traditional institutions. That's one thing that, till date seemed to have watered down the impact or the influence
of the traditional
institutions in our country.
Only areas where it's clearly defined, where they say when a man dies, the son takes over. Those are the particular places, but that still have this respect, and where you know that the way the next monarch will come in is clearly defined. But in areas where they'll say there are 3 ruling houses, you submit 3 names to the governor, and then the governor selects one. In that process, politics comes in, and whoever now is selected, I mean, sometimes his allegiance is, to the government of the day.
And in the process, we lose certain traditional values or rights, in the process of all of this. And I don't think that that's something that we want to do as a country, as a society, because the traditional institutions are still very important to us, and we should preserve them.
If you notice, there are some states where the monarch or the traditional ruler can't really speak to certain situations when they occur because he's scared of being dethroned by the governor, which that shouldn't be the case, because he's supposed to be, a traditional institution is supposed to protect it and then be like the voice of the people. not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
You know, in the issue of this Osun State, I saw a lot of comments yesterday about the governor's actions. But then some people ask certain questions. How do you appoint 30 permanent secretaries just barely 2 weeks before you leave office? That's an issue that...
Almost looking like a setup. One of the papers puts it, it says, a booby trap. It says that it's more like the predecessor setting a booby trap for the incoming.
Exactly. At the time where people are thinking of cutting costs, that, you know, and then you appoint 30.
Well, it speaks to a lot. It shows that there's a lot that meets the eye from what it looks like, because one would expect that if you're making appointments, it should be either from the beginning, you know, of your administration, or maybe midway, or just somewhere, but not at the tail end where you're already counting days.
Yes. Or if you're making an appointment, you're the one that is going to take responsibility for the appointees. So,
all right, so we understand that Hajia Zainab Okino is back with us, joining us there. So let's get back to her. Hello, Hajia.
Yes, please.
Yes,
I'm sorry about what happened.
It's fine. I mean, the technicalities, these are the things that they usually happen. So you may proceed, or I would say continue with your thought on this issue of the Osun State.
But, you know, I was trying to explain it is with the traditional institution which represent our culture. If office will look like an amiable person, I was wondering why he allowed politics to take control of him to the extent that he will, between July and when he handed over 2 days ago. So,
all right. So
it's almost normal. You expect the because of doing their politics. I think the Oshu people should not be drawn into their politics, because polarize the people themselves. What we want for the people is development and dividends of democracy, as we say it here, not personality war.
All right. There's this story still on the Daily Trust newspaper. Nigerians have enough food to eat, Minister. This was the Minister of Agriculture speaking yesterday, and he actually went further to say that we are #1 producer of cassava, yam, as well as #2 producer of sorghum after America, and #3 producer of millet. So all of these look very good on paper, but is that what it is in real time? Are Nigerians feeling all of this?
Well, statistics can deceive sometimes, but the reality is different from what statistics says, because you and I know the situation that even at our small level, we are struggling. So imagine those millions of people out there who do not have food to eat. Grains, he talked about grains that we now attribute this scarcity or the fact that it's expensive to the war in Ukraine. If we have enough, if we can produce enough, if we are that buoyant as far as having all these that he mentioned are concerned, we'll not be talking about the war in Ukraine. Would have been self-sufficient to the extent that we do not have to wait for any foreign country, whether there's war or not, before we can feed ourselves. It may not be that it is not available. We are only but the main thing is the cost. Some of these things, the grains may be available. Some of the sorghum or all those may be available. But it's not enough to the extent that there is so much money chasing what is available in the market. So I think they should just leave us alone, because we've had enough of these statistics that do not correlate with reality. All the people, most of our people in the rural areas, even those of us in the so-called cities in Nigeria, are struggling to feed. I don't know about you, Stella. We are all struggling to eat. So for him to give all these statistics is like adding salt to injury. So they should just leave us alone to cope with whatever they have to give us until they leave office, and then hopefully there will be improvement in our lives. So I wish, how can he even tell us this when there's so much insecurity and we know that our people are not going to the farm as they should? I think he should check his statistics.
The minister also seemed to have so much confidence in the dry season farming as one of the things that they are planning to maximize this time around, to make sure that farmers farm during the dry season and all that, such that they have even invested in a way by providing certain implements for the farmers. So that should suffice, don't you think?
It should, but I hope so. I hope it does suffice because, yeah, there has always been investment in Fadama farming, dry season farming, which in the north is people do it and we gain a lot from it. Consumers gain a lot from it. But the problem is not that our people are not ready to continue to farm. The problem is the overwhelming insecurity that we have in the country. Many people have abandoned their farms, not because they do not want to go to the farm or they do not want to produce, but because of insecurity. Because at least I know a few people from my own axis of the country where people who used to own big farms had to abandon it because of insecurity. If only we can solve our insecurity problem, half of our problem would have been solved. If it is production, if it is going to the farm, our people are ready to go to the farm, our people have the capacity and they have the willingness and they are ready to work. Everybody wants to feed his family and possibly make money out of farming because in actual fact, if there's encouragement from government, farming is not a bad idea. So that we have not been seeing that because of the level of insecurity in the country. So let them fix this security challenge we have and other things will follow, including dry season farming.
All right. Well, I cannot imagine that we'll move away from the Daily Trust newspaper without talking about one of the stories that talks about FG beginning 14-day paternity leave for workers. I mean, the men need the break from work as well, isn't it? What's your take? I would like to get your take on this, really.
I would love it. You know, raising children should not be the responsibility of a woman alone. There are two people that come together to have a child. So I would love it. But the question is whether our men are ready to work even if they are given 3 months. I hope they will not still say that, well, this is the job of raising children is for women alone and not for men. But I hope when the paternity leave is given, it will be utilized properly and not jettisoned or still turned against the women because they always think that we are traditional, we are Africans, and
I mean, even if the men don't do anything, the moral support or the mere fact that they are there for the women during this period is something to really look forward to, isn't it? And don't you think we need more than 2 weeks?
Yeah, in actual fact, we need more than 2 weeks. If we really want to do this thing, we should give them at least a month. That first month of the birth of a child is very important.
Because I know
it involves a lot of work.
A lot of sleepless nights. I said because I know a lot of men go through a lot of sleepless nights once a child comes in. You know, for the first 3 months, it's almost as if you cannot find yourself. You know, so I think that
Haja, I saw some people advocating for at least 1 month. Do you think that is good enough?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, but I just spoke about sleepless nights. Okay. Sleepless nights, but you are not breastfeeding. Just to support, to moral support is your problem. So you want to sleep while the woman is struggling and breastfeeding, and the woman has sleepless nights too. So, but at least you can. But you are not. The men are not breastfeeding. It is the women that are breastfeeding. But the least you can do is to give moral support. Wake up too, along with your wife.
Okay. All right. Let's take a look at the Blueprint newspaper. There's this story there. Half salary, pay us or risk mother of all crisis, ASU wants federal government. It looks like the problem with the ASU is still here with us.
Oh, well, I hope we do not go back to the ugly days of this strike again. The government has to do something. Honestly, I feel it for us. They've been reduced to nothing. They've been reduced. I mean, why won't they be paid? Why won't they be paid? Even those that are collecting salaries are finding it difficult to make both ends meet. So if we do not pay us, what do you expect? I want us to rethink this, our policies in Nigeria. We cannot be throwing money to politics
well, Hajia, the
when
government
there's no
says
money
that they
for.
cannot pay for work not done. That's the argument of the government.
I know. But even when they work, the work they did, they were paid half. Was it half last month? I feel it for them. I just wish we could do something about this incessant ASU strike. We do not value education anymore, and that's why we're having all these issues about our children going out of the country, where people are valued, where people's capacities are valued and appreciated. We need to do something. ASU people, ASU members are human beings. They have their own problems too. They need to eat. They also need to send their children to school. Can't some policies be reversed? It's a big issue.
So,
we need to solve this ASU problem once and for all.
So the argument that the
But we are
government is
not yet
making,
there.
the argument that the government is making is that, if they do this, if they pay ASU regardless of the months of strike, what precedent will it be setting for other sectors of the country or the sectors of the economy? It's more like saying, well, we do not want to reward you for, allowing students to be at home for, for months. So that's the argument that the government is putting forward.
Industrial action is part of trade unionism. So I'm saying that we can find a way to solve this problem if we have the political will. If the government has the political will to solve this problem, it can be done. You cannot leave people without without salaries for eight months. What will happen to their morale? It will naturally go down. Do you think our children can get the best out of these lecturers again? It's not possible. They are human. But we can solve the problem if we have the political will. We can avoid it. We have heard of industrial actions in other places. It is hardly more than a week before the problem is nipped in the bud.
So are you calling for a return to the negotiating table? Because at this point, it doesn't even look like that's where the problem lies.
Well, of course, dialogue will still be the solution. I mean, there's no way we'll have ASU pulling their own strings and the federal government doing their own. We still have to go to the negotiating table. But all the parties should be willing to do things in the interest of Nigeria. Let's put national interest first. Let's put our children's interest first. Let's put our future, because the children are the future. The students will have our future. Let's put it first. If we put all this in perspective, solving the problem or getting solutions would not be an issue.
All right. So quickly, I would like to get your thoughts on this. A story on the Punch newspaper that says 10,000 resident doctors remaining in Nigeria. That's according to the Association of Resident Doctors. That's on page 28 of the Punch newspaper. Is there a correlation between this and the issue of the strikes and the issue of welfare of professionals in Nigeria? What's your take?
Well, I didn't hear the last part. It was dragging technology.
I'm saying that
there was a hitch.
The welfare of professionals is probably part of the reasons why we are seeing this. What will be the impact on our healthcare system?
You can only imagine it. It will get worse than it is. It is bad enough as it is. It can only get worse. If we have 10,000 doctors to 260 million people, you are calling for disasters and tragedies, unfortunately.
And
These are
now
the
we are
things we are
not
going to
even
do.
graduating
The
more
other day, we were
medical
already
doctors.
talking about the best of us, of our medical team moving abroad. Everybody is seeking for greener pastures in the name of a brain drain, which has always been there, but it's now worse than it was. So having this number to 260 million people is sad. It's sad, really.
And
We need to open up.
just as a by the way, I'm saying that with this brain drain that we are experiencing, we are not graduating more medical doctors since ASU, is battling with the issue, with its own issue.
Exactly. I was actually going there before you interjected that we're not graduating enough medical doctors. We are not opening up more medical schools because every year you have thousands of young people wanting to study medicine, but the opportunities, the carrying capacities of some of the universities that are offering medicine, it's always limiting these students, these candidates. So while we admit a fewer number of people, we graduate even fewer
And it appears
or less
not a
number
lot
of
is being done
students.
to keep these people within the country anyway.
Pardon?
It appears not a lot is being done to keep them in the country.
Not much, not much. You and I know that what these people receive when they go abroad, plus the fact that they will be working in an environment where there is professional ethics, they have enough equipment to work efficiently. What they get is in millions by the time you convert it to our declining naira. So, at the end of the day, you want to consider yourself. You want to be able to earn a living. You want to be able to pay your bills before you think of the country. No matter how you love this country, there are so many patriotic Nigerians who ordinarily will not want to go out of this country.
All right.
They love this country, we love our country, but does the country love us, or does the country care for us? So it boils down to the bottom line is your own survival.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Daybreak and sharing your insight with us on the stories stories on the front pages of our newspapers. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. Our guest reviewer is the chairperson, editorial board of the Blueprint newspaper. And with that, we'll take a short breather, and then when we return, we'll take a look at the headlines again on the show. Join us again.
But in a situation where you find that a look at the same,
not necessarily tribal or regional.
but I have said that.
TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television, reaching you from the nation's capital in Abuja. It's top of the hour. Time for us to take a look at the headlines again. Onitsha main market fire. Early morning inferno raises 2 blocks of shops.
Yobe Appeal Court upholds Machina's victory in APC senatorial primary.
Court sacks Adama's speaker as PDP senatorial candidate.
Now let's take a look at the details. An early morning fire on Monday raised 2 blocks of shops at the Kano Street section of the main market in Onitsha, Anambra State. Although the cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained, the Anambra State Fire Service has deployed its men to the scene. According to the State Fire Chief, Martins Agbili, a distress call was put across to the service around 2 a.m. about the fire outbreak, and he immediately deployed his men to the area. He decried the increasing rate of fire disasters within the state and called for caution. Reacting to the incident, the Anambra State Police Public Relations Officer Tochukwu Ikenga confirmed that the situation was under control and that no life was lost, though goods worth millions of naira were destroyed. He disclosed that preliminary information showed that the fire was caused by an electrical upsurge from a cosmetics store in the story building.
All right, now, a federal high court sitting in Yola, Adamawa State, has nullified the election of the Speaker of the Adamawa State House of Assembly, Aminu Iya Abbas, as the candidate of the People's Democratic Party for Adamawa Central Senatorial District for the 2023 elections. In his ruling on Monday, he voided the senatorial primary for Adamawa Central conducted by the PDP. The suit was filed by Mohammed Modibo, son of former chairman of the PDP, Bamanga Tukur, and 5 other aspirants that includes Barrister Didi Azura, Mohammed Modibo, Ibrahim Mustafa, Ibrahim Abubakar, and Honorable Abdullahi. Justice Anka held that the participation of the 4th defendant, Chairman, Governing Council, Adamawa State University, Awal Tukur, as a political appointee without compliance to the new Electoral Act 2022 violated the process, and hence it stands nullified.
Still on legal matters, the Court of Appeal in Abuja has affirmed the nomination of Bashir Sharif Machina as the authentic candidate of the All Progressives Congress for Yobe North Senatorial District. A 3-member panel led by Justice Monica Dagban Mesa on Monday upheld the judgment of the Federal High Court in Damaturu, which had earlier upheld Machina's nomination. The appellate court observed that the APC argued its case and that of Senate President Ahmad Lawan in its brief, but failed to make him a co-appellant instead of being the second respondent. The High Court had upheld the May 28 primary that produced Machina, sacked Lawan, and ordered the APC to forward Machina's name to the Independent National Electoral Commission as the authentic candidate.
All right, so let's take a look at some of the packages we have for you this morning. Now, converting containers into offices and shops is gradually becoming a trend in many urban areas. In this report, our correspondent takes a look at the popularization of the trend and why this is so. Take a look at that report.
The first mention of making shipping containers into small living spaces was heard in the 1970s. However, The mainstream popularity of this idea didn't come about until 1994, when the BBC aired a docu-series about people converting containers into office spaces. This has now become a popular trend in Nigeria, as such containers are designed into beautiful sights to behold. Hence, people now prefer them.
Look at the aesthetics of containers in the Western world, and the shops we have. Most people want to uplift the taste of their company or businesses, or where they use as shops to suit what they sell. So for containers or porter cabins, you'll see that you can actually design or retrofit or prefabricate to meet up with such specifications. So, and of course, it's mobile.
Inheritance, mobility, and it being eco-friendly are also some of the reasons why people now shift their attention to the use of containers as office spaces.
So I work with Abuja Environmental Protection Board. So this is one of our container, which we have them in different areas in Abuja. So here is just like a unit, because our work is a field work. So it's not like an office, but we decide to make it so that it can easily be movable or transferable. It's not a permanent something that is being stationed. It can be taken away from here to another location. So that is why we choose using container.
For me, one of the reasons I approach this company is that to use these containers is that, one, it doesn't contain space, it doesn't take much of space, then the durability is there. It can equally measure up with whatever structure you have in terms of blocks. And most importantly, it's economical. It's economical compared with the high cost of getting an apartment.
Shipping container office spaces can be redesigned and rearranged easily and can also be moved from place to place. This gives one the freedom to arrange the office space in many ways. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right. Farmers in Benue State have expressed divergent views over the state government's intervention in the agriculture sector. While some gave kudos to the government for aiding agricultural production, others are alleging that the government is politicizing interventions in the sector. Let's take the report.
With post-flood realities on one hand and insecurity on the other, the state of agriculture in Benue, reputed as the food basket of the nation, has become a matter of discourse in many quarters.
In fact, the present government is zero in agriculture. Because if I'm grading them on average, I will give them 0. As I earlier mentioned, there is no intervention on agriculture in Benue at all. And some of the interventions needed government attention. They have to either to sign or give a little counterpart farm, which they have been 0 over it.
Other stakeholders, however, feel the state government has done enough and blame the farmers instead of failing to be proactive.
The government of Benue State did not leave any stone unturned in making sure agriculture is done very well, starting with the reorganization of AFAN, which I became the chairman. The governor did well by giving us even a vehicle to carry us along in places hitherto we were not able to go. He also gave us a tractor to help us farm. The only thing is the contractor did not bring the kind of tractor the governor wanted. If not, the state had up to 50 tractors to use in the state.
Most farmers, almost everybody wants to produce, even in the rural area. And when they grow, they get income, their life has improved. Except that some of them do not know how to invest. Another thing is being told what to do and how to do it. If you accept it very well, then you'll be able to make it. But there has been generally an improvement in the farmers' investments because they invest and they have.
The stakeholders say farmers must come to terms with modern farming policies, like exploring insurance options to augment losses.
One of the challenges during the last period, like current year, when we had the produce, the rice fields have been flooded and there's been a very colossal loss. Some of the farmers don't know that you have to take, you don't have to take an insurance policy. So if they did, some of them wouldn't lose.
Even with the ongoing harvest, the prices of farm produce have continued to soar. Analysts say the harvest this year is below expectation and have predicted a likely food shortage even in the much touted food basket of the nation.
All right, now the repair of local baskets known as kwando in Hausa is still thriving despite the availability of plastic baskets. Though the trade looks odd to many Nigerians, to the repairers it remains a source of livelihood, as Bello Musa reports.
Local basket known as kwando in Hausa is an old means of conveying goods primarily in northern Nigeria and other parts of the country. Despite the availability of plastic basket and other containers, kwando is still used by many people in Kaduna. Though it may look new and odd to many, these people at Bakindogo Market in Kaduna earn their living from repairing baskets. Despite the cost of living, I still cater for my family's needs. I have worked for the last 15 years. I have a family and I cater for them through this work. We repair all baskets and make it look new, or we change the size to either small or big. As the cost of living continues to bite hard on many Nigerians, repairs of this local basket is also affected by the economic downturn across the country. Our challenges are rising cost of materials, which often affect our business. I repaired 30 baskets in a day. The group urged the Kaduna State Governor Nasiru El-Rufai to allocate a permanent site to them for their business. We want to have a permanent place where we can carry out our activities without inconveniencing other people. We are converting waste to wealth, and people and other authorities see our heap-up basket as waste, which is not so. We want government to allocate permanent and convenient place for us because we create employment here. Despite the growing unemployment rate in the country, these Nigerians are using their talent to keep themselves occupied and also earn a living. For these Nigerians, they are not just creating jobs for themselves, but also creating opportunities for others. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Thank you, Bello Musa, for that report. Now, a renowned professor of law, Patrick Lumumba, has urged leaders on the African continent to see leadership as a call to provide service to humanity rather than an opportunity to occupy space for personal aggrandizement. Professor Lumumba spoke on Monday at the 10th Olusola Saraki Memorial Anniversary in Abuja. He also underscored the importance of an enlightened followership that could hold leadership accountable to its responsibilities. Shefiu Suleiman completes the report.
The audience is gathered to celebrate the life and times of a political icon, Olusola Saraki. The upside is to listen to a brilliant lecture by the renowned Professor Patrick Lumumba, who, in his usual manner, is telling truth to power. He reminds the audience of the dreams of the first-generation leaders in Africa and their dispositions towards governance.
Who would liberate them from the Egypt of poverty and want? Who would cause pillars of fire to stand between them and sorrow and want? Who would part the Red Seas of tribalism and ethnicity? Who in times of hunger would summon manna and quail from heaven? That is what they thought of their leaders, messiahs.
One of the key limiting factors is the fault lines and impediments to Africa's renaissance in the face of neo-colonial tendencies.
Economies are controlled followed by people from other civilizations? Why is it? These are uncomfortable questions which we must pose and confront and answer if the mother continent is to realize our potential.
Professor Lumumba, who underscores the need for an enlightened followership that can hold leadership accountable, also draws the attention of those in position of authority to the consequences of failure to meet the yearnings and aspirations of the people.
You may lead them in a particular direction. You may think that you have lulled them into a false sense of security. You may think that you have deadened their minds. But always remember that one day, if you don't do that which is good and right for your fellow men, there is a day of reckoning.
The memorial lecture, which has representative of President Muhammadu Buhari in attendance, draws audience from across political divides and cultural affiliations, and is coming in the midst of electioneering ahead of the 2023 elections. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
All right. Now we'll take a short break, and when we return, the Daybreak show continues. Join us again. All right, thank you for staying with us. It's time for us to take a look at one of the issues on our table this morning as Christmas approaches with fanfares and happy moments associated with the festive period. Affordable pay TV company StarTimes has rolled out exciting plans for subscribers in its Christmas Better Level promo, and that's what we are going to be talking about this morning. We have Ephraim Wanibu. He is the solar sales representative from StarTimes, who joins us right here in the studio to talk more about this. Thank you so much for coming, Ephraim.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am.
Yes. Well, you are here again, and I would like for you to tell us what you have for us this morning.
Okay. Basically, I came here with two announcements to give on the Better Level promo on our subscribers that are using the dish and the decoder. Meaning when you pay for 1 month, you get upgraded to the second bouquet for 2 months. Then when you subscribe on the highest bouquet for 1 month, you get 10 extra days. And on this platform, we have gifts that will be given out to lucky winners, those that key into this and recharge to get upgraded to the next bouquet.
Okay, so that's about the StarTimes itself.
Yeah,
but we see that you have delved into the solar, means of energy provision at the moment.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
Yes, we have, because we found out that for a while now, we don't have a stable light in this country. So StarTimes went into solar production. Now with this solar, you can have light in your house 24 hours a day. Now one good thing with this solar is noiseless. You can use it anywhere you want to use it, and it comes with its own bulbs. Now for this, we have a promo on the solar packages as well. Now the one that I'm holding now is called the S50. Now this comes with a Bluetooth radio, and it comes with a radio, and with this is also the battery. It gives out 3 bulbs Comes with 3 bulbs, so it gives out light to with that 3 bulbs. You can also use to charge your phone. You can charge 2 phones at once, and it also comes with a panel.
So this comes with 3 bulbs?
Yes, 3 bulbs.
And you use it to listen to radio?
Yes, and Bluetooth. You can connect your phone to it. So it's like it serves a multidimensional function here. This is the battery, this is the radio, and this is the Bluetooth as well.
Quite interesting. So give us, for the one you are holding now, how much can it cover? What and what can it carry?
All right. Now, we're on a promo. Like I said, the promo started on the 15th of November. It's going to end on 15th of January. Now, the actual price of this is 49,000 Naira. But we found out that since we are going on a promo, we had to slash the price to 24,000 Naira. So with 24,000 Naira, you can get this with the 3 light bulbs, you can charge your 2 phones, and it can be used anywhere. Students can use this, family can use it, small business owners can use it. Instead of getting up in the night or in the afternoon to draw the gen, just go and switch on your light and you have your light in your house.
You know, as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the Meshai Sport.
Yes.
The Indomie seller.
Yes.
The small provision store in a village somewhere.
Yes.
How does this fit into what
Now, it does fit in because looking at what's happening in Nigeria now, we don't have fuel and the price is skyrocketing by the day. It's even scarce now. So you don't need to break the bank to acquire this. With just 24,000 Naira, it's installed in your house without any additional cost. And you can use it at night. You can use it at night. Like I said, it's a multi-dimensional function. Your radio is there where you can listen to anything you want to listen to. You can connect your phone to it and your light as well to it.
All right, talk to us about the second device on the table.
Now, this one is called the S100. Now, for our viewers, it's also on a promo. The actual price of this is about 140,000 Naira, but we slashed it down to 59,000 Naira. And it also comes with a gift, which is a standing fan. It's either a standing fan or a table fan, as the case may be. So the moment you make your payment of 59,000 Naira, you already have a gift on this. Now, it comes with 4 light bulbs, and you can charge 2 phones as well as the panel.
You know, right now there are a lot of people into the solar energy provision and all of that. So what stands you out? What are those specific features that you have on your...
Now, one of the specific features we have on this is that, number 1, the price is very, very affordable. It's not that expensive. That's number 1. Number 2, you don't need to, it is self-installable. You can install it yourself. And it has a 2 years warranty on the battery, of which whatever happens to the battery within that 2 years, we change it for you without any additional cost. And
so after the 2 years, if anything happens to the battery, what can you do? Is it replaceable?
It is replaceable. We just come to your house and pick it back to the office and we replace it for you.
How long does this last?
If you are using this one, it can last up to 24 hours depending on the usage. You're using the 4 light, the fan, and the charging of 2 phones as well, at least for about 15 hours a day. As long as the panel is off of the roof and it's charging it, because it's a charge and play stuff. You can be charging it while using it.
So once it's connected, the customer or the user doesn't have to do anything?
Once it's connected, you don't just have to leave it on, that's all. Once you make your payment, we'll come and install it without any additional cost, and you just start using it.
What's the price range and whether you have other types of this solar?
Yes, we have about 4 different types of solar, but for now, for the promo, we brought out these 2 because we found out that it is less expensive and is very, very affordable. But we have for the luxury living, the one that comes with the 24-inch TV with 2 more subscription attached to it, with a dish, a standing fan, 4 light bulb, an inverter, and a charger to charge it. Probably when the sun is not that high, and that one goes for 299,000 Naira. That's for the luxury living.
What about the one you're holding now?
Now this is S100. This is for 59,000 Naira. So it comes with a fan as a gift. But the actual
it has a fan attached to it as a gift.
Yes, the moment you make the payment of 59,000 Naira, it comes with a fan, either a standing fan or a table fan, as the case may be.
So what category of people would you say should go for this?
Now, everybody needs light in his house. If you want to enjoy light, everybody needs the solar. Now, family needs it, school students needs it. Like my brother said, the Meshai, those small business owners that need light to run their business day to day, instead of putting on the gen, you need this. And it's very, very, very affordable, like I said.
So I mean, there's a difference in price. So that seems to suggest that that does better.
Yes, yeah. This one comes to the standing fan. It does better.
But again, it's not going to be the same category of users, is it?
Yes, whoever can use it. Now, for those that have stores that are that stays in a village that is very sunny, like that, some states that are very, very sunny, you need something like this so that you can get the fan to cool off yourself during the daytime. So you can go for this. But if probably your pocket is not full enough, you can still go for this. You can still enjoy the radio, the light, and your Bluetooth speaker as well.
Okay, this doesn't go with the fan.
Yeah, this doesn't go with the fan, yes.
The advantage of this one is that you get to listen to radio.
Your radio, yes. You don't need to start looking for TV wherever you are. You just put it on and everything is connected there. That's it.
The fact is, whichever you are picking, there's something that complements it. It's not just a mere battery you are buying, but you are either buying a stereo or you are buying, something that gives you fire.
Yes.
Now, does that also serve for USB or a stereo as well?
No, this one doesn't come with a radio, but it has a USB port where you can charge your phone.
Okay.
But it doesn't come with a radio.
Okay.
This one was designed to have a fan.
Okay.
Yes. Can you also charge your phone here?
Yes, you can charge two phones at once.
How many phones?
2 or 3, as the case may be. If you have a USB that have multiple charging mount, you can do that.
All right.
This comes with a maximum of how many bulbs?
4 bulbs. Why this? Maximum of 3 bulbs.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ephraim Wanebu, for joining us. Before we go, we'd like for you to give us how does our viewers contact you if they are interested? How do they get in touch? How do they, acquire this?
Okay, you can get in touch with us through the phone numbers on your screen. But for those that are not watching the TV, you can still dial us at this number 080 6652 4175 or 081 723 98123. I repeat the number again, 080 6652 4175 or 081 723 98123.
All right.
Are these numbers available 247?
247 is always on. Doesn't go off.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Ephraim Wanebu, for joining us on Daybreak this morning and sharing the offers that you have for us.
Thank you, sir.
This Christmas season. All right, it's time for us to take a short breather, and then when we return, the show will continue. Join us again.
Nigerians, elections are here again. Let us shun violence. Let us play the game according to the rules. Do not be a thug. Say no to violence. Let's rise and defeat violence, crime, and sabotage against the peace of our nation. Nigeria is the only country we have. We must do everything to keep it united. We must avoid any act that promotes hate and disintegration. Say no to separatist movement, terrorism, fake news, hate speech, religious bigotry, and any act that tends to divide us as a nation. Watch out for strange gatherings and suspicious movements. Restrict access to sensitive documents and data, the disclosure of which may damage national security. Educate your staff and family, particularly on measures to safeguard information and report security breaches. Apply relevant legal security guidelines to protect yourself and your neighbors. Due to misinformation and wrong choices, some idle persons resort to vices in their greed to get rich quick. They resort to kidnapping, killings for rituals, and other heinous crimes. Avoid wrong use of the social media. Before you broadcast that false message, think twice. Ask whether it will promote peace or violence. For safety at home, still be security conscious. Educate your household on safety tips. Report all suspicious movements and persons to the security agencies nearest to you. Be a good citizen. Be patriotic. To pass security information, please call 0813-222-2105, 0915-339-1309, 0908-837-3514, or send a mail to dssPR@dss.gov.ng. This message is from the Department of State Services, DSS.
All right, thank you for staying with us. If you are just joining, you're watching Daybreak on Trust Television. We'll take a look at the next discussion on the program. Now, with critical infrastructure of the Independent National Electoral Commission increasingly being targeted, recent attacks appear like a systematic assault meant to cripple INEC operations ahead of the 2023 general elections. Now, prior to this period, serial violence and arson against INEC personnel and facilities in some states, especially in the southeast and south-south zones, had resulted in the destruction of buildings and vital election equipment, as well as loss of lives. We'll take a look at what this means for the 2023 general elections. We have in the studio Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst, with us right here, aka the media oracle. Welcome.
Gentleman of the press.
Welcome to the studio.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes. Well, we have seen these attacks on INEC facilities. As a result, we've seen cubicles, PVCs being destroyed. In fact, even some INEC officials being injured in some parts of the country. Though the INEC chair is giving assurance that the attacks will not affect the 2023 elections, these are realities that we are having to deal with, as we approach the elections. What's your take on these recent attacks, really, and where is it heading?
It's a very worrisome development. Sincerely speaking, I'm worried, Steve, about why this is happening. If the attacks were on party secretariats or candidates, you will say it's mutually assured destruction. But those who are targeting INEC infrastructure, is it that they prefer military rule to civil rule and they don't want civil rule again? Because I really can't understand. Why will anybody wake up and the next thing is to go and set ablaze institutions?
So in the Southeast, for instance, we hear that they don't want elections to hold in the Southeast. That's for those who are belonging to the
indigenous people
of Biafra, the agitations, the secessionist agitations and all that. So those perhaps are some of the reasons why we're seeing these attacks.
I mean, I'm assuming without considering that is even their interest. That is amounting to cutting your nose to spite your face. You want to live and you want to destroy. I mean, if they want to live, is it that they are going to remove the houses and their property and take it to their new homeland? Or is that same homeland that they feel that they need to raise in order to press home their demands? I think the unknown gunmen phenomenon has been glamorized for too long. And which is why, the November 6, 2021 governorship election in Anambra recorded a paltry 10.24% voter turnout. I wrote in my column in The Punch last week about the implications of these attacks. And it's very heart-rending because it's a recipe for anarchy. It's a recipe to incentivize the military to come and take over. Of course, it's a recipe for low voter turnout.
But, Mr. Ojo, first of all, the people behind this, I'm sure they know they cannot stop election from holding. I'm sure they know that.
I don't know whether they know that.
So why does it keep happening? Because even the INEC chair said yesterday that this is not going to affect, that yes, it's going to affect them, but the elections will still hold. So with that knowledge, why would Nigerians continue to destroy public infrastructure?
That's the million-dollar question I've also been trying to wrap my head around, because let me give you statistics. In 2019, INEC spent around 189 billion. That's what the federal government invested in the conduct of 2019 election. The total sum was 242 billion. 53 billion was earmarked or given to the police and other security agencies, while INEC got 189 billion. Fast track that 4 years after, INEC already is in receipt, I want to believe, of 305 billion for the conduct of 2023 election. Now, in 2023 budget, INEC has requested for additional 50 billion. This money, what the destroyers or the arsonists invariably or inadvertently are doing is to make money that should have been invested in critical infrastructures to be spent on electioneering. Because INEC will have to replace all these lost items. And don't forget, it's not only this arson that has made INEC, that has dealt some very deadly punch on INEC. Even the flood. The flooding that took place recently submerged many INEC offices, particularly the local government offices. For instance, the entire Bayelsa state was underwater for some weeks. INEC infrastructure in Bayelsa state were not immune. So we are not talking of those ones that flood has destroyed. We are talking of one that you deliberately will go and set ablaze. For what reason? So now, people are being disenfranchised. The PVCs that were destroyed in EZ 2 days ago, INEC will have to replace it. Don't forget, nobody pays to get their PVC. So you have to contract and pay another money together. The generating set, power generating set, the cubicles, the voters, ballot box, and several other items.
So shouldn't we be fortifying some of these INEC offices? And
also,
if we cannot protect the materials in the INEC offices, then why then should they reside there? Maybe we should
No. See, the point is, yes, that's part of the solution. To my own mind, we need to conscientize Nigerians that INEC property is a public asset that needed to be protected by all and sundry. And it's not just INEC office, it's all the public offices in and around. You know, national orientation agencies also have offices in local government, and several other DSS and all of, and police. And you saw the level of destruction of police stations in 2020 during the NSAS protest. And I'm not sure we have gotten out of that yet. The billions that needed to be replaced, to be spent to replace those police barracks and police stations that were burnt and operational vehicles, is still hampering provisioning of security till today, 2 years after. Now, INEC offices are being touched. What needed to be done? And I have suggested this. In fact, the article I wrote last week on the implication of this, I did suggest that there is a need to mobilize the traditional institutions. All these communities have traditional rulers. And traditional rulers are also in charge of security, quote and unquote, in those local government or in those communities. And they could spare one or two night guards or day guards to, complement the maybe one or two that INEC will have provided. But beyond that is to conscientize people in those communities to see those property, those INEC offices as government's property.
But how efficient? I mean, as far as those who are perpetrating this are concerned, they do not care about, it's not lack of awareness or lack of understanding of how these institutions or facilities, government facilities, needs to be protected. They don't want to know about that. They don't look like people that care about that. So how do you conscientize? No, it's a multi-pronged approach. I'm not saying that is the only way to go. I'm saying one way to go is mobilize the traditional institutions to complement. Traditional rulers have people in charge of security. They have even chiefs that are in charge of security, and they can get some vigilantes to complement. That is just one. The other one is that there are DSS offices in all the local government. There are police stations in all the local government. And these people need to have a small ICES, Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security, for local government. The one at the Abuja level, the national level has been meeting, but it has not percolated to the local government.
But Mr. Ojo, after the Osun attack, there was a meeting by the IGP where he said that the federal government has deployed members of the armed forces, Civil Defense Corps, and DSS to all INEC facilities. And that was about 2 weeks ago. Shortly after that, 2 weeks down, we had this attack in Ebonyi on Sunday.
Yeah.
So now you begin to wonder what happened to the deployment of those people.
Well, I wish I were in the military or armed forces. Maybe I would have been able to provide answers. But this is purely on the table of the Inspector General of Police and National Security Advisor to provide eloquent response to why the Z attack still took place after the address by the Inspector General of Police and then the meeting with the chairman of the 18 political parties. But you see, this will have to be a multi-pronged approach. We have to do advocacy, media advocacy. We need to encourage the traditional institutions to also provide ancillary support. We also need to ask the DSS and the police in the local government to work with the vigilantes if it means having a joint task force. And of course, INEC needs to move all its materials out of its local government offices into a zonal store. You understand? INEC needs to treat voting cubicles, generating sets, PVCs, and all of the other items that are in those local government offices as sensitive materials. They're not treating it as sensitive materials, in which case they just put them there. That's why, they still get caught napping and having these destructions. Like operational vehicles, all of these have maybe moved to the state office. And from state office, you move to local government on maybe a week to the election. Because these people really want to scuttle democracy. I really cannot wrap my head around why people need to do this.
If they want to scuttle democracy, don't you think the one way to go about it is to apprehend the perpetrators and get them to provide their sponsors and see that justice is served?
The Inspector General of Police did say that governors are among those who are sponsoring thuggery in their state. Governors have immunity. I'm not saying governors are the ones asking them to go and burn INEC offices, but in terms of other modes of attacks that we have seen, because there are 3 types of attacks that is going on right now. We have the physical attack, which is where INEC attack on INEC facilities lie. We also have those, attacks on, candidates and other opposition elements within the state structures. But beyond the physical attack, which is well known, which has been articulated, where the Inspector General of Police said they have recorded 52 of such attacks, there is also structural and psychological violence going on. And all of this needs to be checkmated. But you and I are handicapped because we are not trained security personnel. So the security personnel needs to go beyond the rhetorics of we will deal with it, to now start having intelligence gathering to apprehend those who have perpetrated across. This is getting to almost 50 INEC offices that have been attacked in the last 3 years. 50. At some point last year, INEC said they have recorded over 40 of such attacks. Now, if you had the one that took place in the lead up to November 6th election in Anambra, and the 3 that has happened recently in Ogun, in Osun, and in Ebonyi, it's almost getting to 50 INEC offices. So this is being replaced and repaired with taxpayers' money that should have been deployed to other critical infrastructure. So I agree with you completely, my beautiful sister, that security agencies need to fish out the perpetrators. They live in those communities. Even if they are not living there. The one that happened in Izzi took place around 10 a.m. It wasn't under the cover of darkness. So somebody somewhere must have seen some strange movement in that environment. And DSS, the police, needs to up their ante by going after these perpetrators, get them arrested and prosecuted. Even if they have powerful barons and top people in government as their sponsors, by the time you have some dozens of people in jail for this offense, it will send a warning signal, because we are less than 90 days to the next election. But you never can tell if these people decide to up the ante and go and destroy our next state office, because they are still dealing with local government offices. One day, it happened in Anambra on the eve of 2019 election. If you recall, these assassins targeted the store where INEC kept its smart card readers, and they burnt over 4,000 smart card readers in one day in Oka.
So how can political parties?
You ask yourself, have those perpetrators been arrested and prosecuted? They just wished it away and mobilized from store, or we can't continue to treat this like with kids' gloves. That's sacrosanct. So some urgent measures need to be taken to checkmate this escalating ahead of 2023 elections. Sorry,
I'm just wondering. I mean, all of these people, Nigerians, basically, they're either supporters of Party A or Party B or Party C. So can't the political parties intervene in this regard?
In what way would they intervene? They will form vanguard or vigilante.
They could do that.
I really don't know. I don't think we should empower non-state actors in this. The state.
But in terms of providing information, if they have.
Yes, they can provide information, useful information that can be given to.
They could use their people to monitor.
Yes, they can also provide the ancillary support services to the security agencies. But I will not agree with situation where political parties will not be the one to deploy their members to be providing security. The INEC one needs to hire more security guards. If they need to go the way of private guards, armed private guards, to protect their facilities. And then the traditional institutions giving them additional support. The most critical time is actually the night. If we can have one policeman, one vigilante, and INEC staff, 3 of them providing security. Because I have also done some research which took me to some INEC offices. Some INEC offices are actually inside a very bushy area. I won't say they are inside forest. The few ones that are more protected are the ones located within the local government secretariat. There are those that are in local government secretariat, but there are also those who are in isolated places. And these ones in isolated places makes it very easy for people to destroy it. Okay. But I would say INEC needs to move those critical materials out of their local government. Maybe when it's just a week to the election, then they can deploy back and have more, at least having some sufficient number of guards at that place.
All right, how much of a dilemma are we in here? When you think about some of the reactions that trailed the involvement of the central bank governor in political issues and the call for INEC to stop storing some of its materials at the Central Bank of Nigeria. I mean, if we have some of those materials in the CBN, which is more fortified, perhaps we would not be having as much of these experiences, destruction of certain materials and all that. So this kind of appears to be a dilemma for us, isn't it?
It's a dilemma, but let me speak to this issue of distrust with the CBN. Recently, I think late last month or early this month, when INEC called us, civil society organizations, media, and the different stakeholders to a meeting, this was a proposal raised whether we are in support of INEC keeping its materials still with the CBN, given the history of the CBN governor being partisan. And when we weigh all the options, is it to be kept in military barracks? Is it to be kept with which other agencies have that facility that can? So we resolved, and INEC chairman did tell us that even the political parties resolved that the sensitive materials should still be kept with the central bank. Meanwhile, we cannot move all the voting vehicles, generating sets, vehicles to CBN offices. It's not. Look, in the coming days, INEC is going to start distribution of PVCs. They're going. Already, people are saying that the PVCs distribution should be taken to the world level. And what is lower than the local government? So, if already attacks are being made on the local government offices, and it's not ideal for personnel of INEC to go home with the PVCs of people. What if their homes are broken into and people still? Just on Sunday, Festus Okoye Esquire did release a press statement where he said some people, one person in Sokoto was jailed for 1 year for being in possession of how many PVCs, multiple PVCs. Another one in another state is currently being prosecuted for having over 100 PVCs. So if INEC personnel were to take these PVCs home to make it easy for them to go to the world to distribute, what if this unknown government or these delinquents or these unscrupulous people decide to attack their home and make away? So this is I think the intelligence gathering of the Nigerian military and police needs to be heightened, particularly on who are the sponsors, the ROS and masterminds of this, so that they can get them out of business. Because these people are not the ones sending themselves on this errand. Somebody is behind it, and the person is trying to orchestrate a situation where election will not hold, or if it will hold, there will be so much apathy that, in fact, we will have maybe less than 10% of voter. And look at the investment in this forthcoming election. I told you 305 billion had already been given to INEC because, according to Section 3 sub 3 of the Electoral 2023, the funds for the next election has to be with INEC 1 year ahead. So I assume that for the 2023 election, INEC is in receipt of 305 billion. Now it has requested for additional 50 billion. That brings the total sum that INEC and federal government is investing in 2023 election to 355 billion. That is outside of what the donor community is bringing to the table. The UNDPs of this world, the European Unions of this world, and the USAID of this world, the DFIDs of. So when you add everything together, Nigeria election is happening to be one of the most expensive in the world. And attacks on facilities of INEC is actually providing ancillary additional cost to conducting election. But the social cost is even more mind-boggling. The social cost in this respect is will people trust, or will we have a credible leader emerging from a violent process? Because the integrity of election will be affected if at the end of the day you have to ride to office on the blood of Nigerians. And this violence needs to be tamed, whether it's psychological, structural, or physical. So the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security have over 20 agencies. Okay. Over 20, including fire brigade, fire services, including EFCC, including including NDLA. So all of them needs to have their intelligence team, like the RRT that Nigerian police has, which Abba Kyari was leading a team before. If they have this intelligence, they will go and sniff out. These people are not ghosts. They can track them, arrest them, get them debriefed, to name their sponsors, and arrest their sponsors, put them out of business. And I think that will stall or checkmate this raging fire of destroying INEC offices across the country.
All right. Thank you so much for your perspectives. This is where we'll have to end the discussion because of our time. Thank you for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah. Jide Ojo, public affairs analyst and a friend of the house, indeed. That's our show for today. In case you have missed, you can always catch up on our social media platforms and also on our YouTube channel. I am Ayuba Ilya. Join us again tomorrow for another time.
Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Stella Yaji. Do have a very pleasant day.